Welcome to the Two Circles 25 EMEA Summit. We're now back inside. The summit sessions have finished. It's starting getting a little bit noisier, and I'm privileged to be joined by the ECB and another two circler, and they are two people who do know how to speak to knowing their fans better. Beth, please can you give me an introduction about who you are and what you are doing?
Yep, so my name is Beth Barrett-Wild. I am Director of the Women's Professional Game at the ECB and also Tournament Director on the ICC Women's T20 World Cup, which we are hosting here in England and Wales next summer.
Excellent, thank you. And Stacey?
And I'm Stacey. I'm a lead consultant at Two Circles, and I have been working across the T20 Women's World Cup as sort of the tournament lead from a Two Circles point of view.
The UK, well, England is currently hosting the Women's Rugby World Cup. The coverage has been amazing. I've seen it everywhere. My TikTok feed is filled with different ranges. In less than a year's time, as you say, we're going to have the T20 Women's World Cup in 2026. How big a moment next year is that going to be for women's cricket?
Yeah, so look, I think we're in a brilliant moment at the moment with the Women's Rugby World Cup. I think it has been hugely impactful with the attendances and the viewership we're already starting to see come through there. Got about 9 months to go now until the T20 World Cup lands here across England and Wales. And we're really looking at that as a moment to evoke long-term change. We want to make sure that we're using that as a platform to really drive behavioural change around how people think, feel, and really value women's cricket. So we're very much viewing it not just as a moment in time, but as a movement. The vision for the tournament is the year that women's cricket breaks into the mainstream and stays there. So that really is about trying to take those one-off big eventers, those attendees, and moving them into that passionate fan growth piece. And then ultimately, as we've been learning a lot about through the conference here today, how we can look to monetize them moving forwards.
Amazing.
Something we always say is sell out stadia, mainstream vibes.
So good.
But I think one of the other things is just about, that we've been talking a lot about the strategy, is stop selling the progress of women's sport and actually start selling it as a sport. So that's been is the key in our strategy across ticketing, marketing, and audience growth.
And I think that's something actually is like through the ECB we've really been building towards so that we can really make sure we're in the best possible stead to make the most of next summer. So we have been building our professional structures over the last 5 years. So I've got two parts to my job. So I've got the women's professional domestic game, which is all about that infrastructure and the thriving pyramid where we're trying to really grow the quality of the product and make sure it is as high class, world quality as possible. But then making sure through the World Cup next year we can really take that as a real shop window really to create that passionate fan base.
Not a moment, but a movement is such a lovely line. I almost want to go get it tattooed somewhere because it's fantastic. Next year offers like a really unique opportunity to create new fans, introduce people to the sport, community growth. Can you talk to me about what it means to sort of have that moment and kind of capitalise it as best as possible?
Yeah, so I think there's probably there's several key areas that we're looking to really maximise. So attendance is a big one, so we've got big ambitions around that. So we want to double the attendance of the previous highest attended Women's T20 World Cup, which was down in Australia in 2020.
Just a small number.
Just a small number, yeah.
Just double, why not? yeah.
5,000, and we're well on the way with ticket sales, which I think is actually a really good marker as to how the industry and the sector has really grown and matured in recent times. Obviously things around viewership and how people are watching and engaging with the sport. But there's also like some softer metrics, like we want to make sure we're using it as almost like a cultural moment within our grassroots to drive female leadership, iconic figures, so those role models, those inspiring figures that we can almost create a stage for them to really live that main character energy and just really break into the public consciousness at pace and scale.
Yeah, awesome. Now, growing the women's game obviously doesn't happen overnight. You've talked about a lot of what you've been doing of sort of laying the groundwork. What have you and your team been doing from like a foundational point of view to sort of set the stage for next year?
Yes, there's probably several different elements to it. So I think from a domestic product perspective, so making sure that we have got cricketers, not just in the UK but around the world, that really are driving that quality so that, as Stacey said, one of the things we're really looking to do is stop selling the progress and really start selling the sports because it really is world-class cricket now. So we've been investing heavily into our performance pathways to create those brilliant standard of play and those players. But also from a fan perspective, so we've had various moments over the last few years, whether it was the Women's Ashes in 2023, where as an organisation we really saw that as an opportunity to turbocharge the scale and the profile of the women's game by aligning it with the Men's Ashes through an iconic Ashes to Ashes campaign and really to drive that awareness. So look, we still have a long way to go on all of these things, and we've got a bit of a challenger brand mindset, but we really do have big aspirations to take women's cricket from that sort of niche curiosity to be a normalised interest.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing just to build is to not only build the game, but also to show the commercial value. So that's been a key driver for us as well. So in terms of pricing, etc., is just really show the value of the product.
And I think that's one of our other we've got a big 6 that we're going after in terms of like our metrics for success and whether we've been successful in our mission to sort of reset normal and break women's cricket into the mainstream. And revenue generation is a big one. It's something I think the tagline we're saying is we want it to be the highest grossing women's global event ever in cricket. So we're going to be looking to make some money out of this event, which I think is really important actually, just to really demonstrate the commercial value that does exist and is attached to women's sport now.
Amazing. Big ambitions, lots of foundations, 9 months to go. I'm going to ask maybe a bit of an unfair, difficult question. If we look ahead past 2026, what's the legacy that you and the team want to leave behind after the Women's World Cup? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think this is a really important part of it actually, and it's all part of that. We don't see it as just a moment but a movement, and I think actually some of our key performance indicators around the tournament next year are about that long-term impact. So we're going to have a real astute measurement of retention at England women's fixtures, and how many fans we have got coming back time and time again. So I think historically what we've seen is we have these big global peaks and awareness and attention and attendees, but not necessarily capture that and really have that stickiness around our fan base. So we want to make sure that we see those fans coming back in 2027 and years beyond. But a golden opportunity with the Ashes in 2077 actually to channel that awareness and that newfound love for women's cricket into. So that's certainly one of our big key metrics. And the way that we're talking about that actually is around really establishing a new tribe for a new era.
New tribe, new era, that's great.
Beth with all these quotes.
All the sound bites.
Yeah, exactly. And what are the team at Two Circles doing, Stacey? How are we supporting the ECB?
Well, we actually view this project as almost like a partnership, more than just a project. And we've been working across various work streams. Ticketing, we started back towards the end of last year working on the pricing strategy, so making sure that it was in line with sort of other global events, as well as sort of our domestic leagues as well. And then we're working across the audience growth strategy, the full sort of on-sale strategy, and a bit of creative here and there as well. Yeah,
it's very much a partnership. Like, we're very plugged in together, and I don't think, again, I think the brilliance of that is we're not just doing it as a one-off right now. Like, that's been built over the last few years. I think we've got a real rich data set now of insight and knowledge that we built up through the last few years, which means that we really can make the most of the opportunity next summer.
Amazing. So extending the shoulders, making more opportunity for people to watch, engage, enjoy cricket. I, for one, am absolutely buzzing about next year. I've loved the Women's Rugby World Cup this year. I'm really excited about the T20 World Cup next year. Beth, Stacey, thank you so much for joining me on the Two Circle sofa. I will now let you go and enjoy some well-earned soft drinks, wines or beers.
Thank you
very
much.
Cheers.